Hello and welcome to our review of the Echo One E90 AEG. So here you have the box. Not much to talk about with it, so let's open it up. Okay, so when you first open the box, you're going to see the gun with a magazine inside it, and then a spare magazine here in this slot, which means it comes with two magazines. Each is a mid-cap that holds about 70 rounds. It comes with a all-metal black flash hider to replace the plastic orange one, and then if you pick up the magazine, you have your charger, speed loader, and battery. So let's get all this out of the box. Okay, in the box, the first thing you're going to see is the Echo One manual, which, as with most Echo One manuals, is well worded in good English, and it's easily understandable, but I have two main complaints about this manual. The first is that it goes into a lengthy, in-depth, very good instructions guide on how to load P90 magazines. The only problem is that this instruction booklet tells you how to load high-cap magazines, while the gun comes with two mid-caps, so that's kind of useless. My second complaint would be that while what's in this manual is very good and understandable, it leaves out some basic information like how to break down the gun and things of that nature. So, that's a little complaint, but overall, pretty good manual. Other stuff that comes in the box, you have a plastic speed loader, you have a metal flash hider to replace this orange plastic one, you have a 9.6 volt 1100 milliamp battery, you have a trickle charger, which is not very high quality. I would recommend getting a smart charger. You have a cleaning and unjamming tool, you have two 68 round mid-cap magazines, and you have the gun itself. And so let's take a closer look at these magazines. Okay, so here is one of the two 68 round plastic mid-cap magazines that are included with the gun. They're completely identical. So here it is. It's all plastic, and when you pick it up, it feels quite sturdy. But one of the only complaints I have is that if you just kind of grab it and just put any significant pressure on it, it kind of creaks. If you can hear that, and it creaks a lot, but it still feels pretty sturdy. So I don't think it's going to break, but it does creak around a bit. Flipping it over, this is the BB feed tube. You just take a speed loader and just line it up right there and just pump your BBs in. As I said earlier, it'll hold 68 BBs, and it feeds pretty well. Not a whole lot of double feeds or jams, so that's satisfactory. But this magazine does have some flaws, and we're going to look at those now. Okay, so as you saw earlier, this magazine has 50 mock plastic bullets inside it to give it more of a realistic feel when you're looking down at it. And this is very cool. I like this feature. It gives it a more realistic feel to the gun. But one problem is these front two bullets right in here will get a little loose and rattle around a little bit, if you can hear that. And so that's a little bit of a problem. But, it only happened on one of the two magazines, so not too big of a deal. And so I'm moving back to the back of the magazine. I'm not sure if you can see, but here, right next to this 50 mark, that would on a real gun would be able to tell you a quick acquisition of how many bullets you have left. Right above that, that's actually a little dent, and they're actually all over the magazines because when you slide it into the gun, sometimes if you don't do it just right, the top of the magazine can actually scrape up against the bottom of the upper of the RAS system, and it can scratch the magazine a little bit. I'll show you that in more detail later, but I just thought that's kind of important to point out that you might get little dings and scratches on the back top of your magazine. So now we're going to look at the gun. Okay, so here's the gun. It's got a very nice matte black finish throughout all of it. And so I'm just going to show you how to load the magazine into the gun really quick. You're just going to take your magazine so that the flat end is towards the front of the gun. You're just going to slide it in until this rounded back meets up with this little rounded lip right here, and then just kind of pop it in. And the reason it needs to be popped, because this is a new gun, that spring's still pretty stiff, so it just takes a little bit of force. But I'm sure as you own the gun for more, and that gets broken down a little bit, it'll get much easier to pop that mag into place. And so now we're going to take a quick, closer look at the front end of this gun. Okay, so here you're looking at the front end of the gun. The first thing you're going to notice is an all-plastic orange flash hider right here that can be, if you blow dry it for about 20 minutes to melt some of the glue that's in there because it's been glued onto the gun, screw that off and you can screw on your all black full metal flash hider, which I would recommend doing for games, but I would keep this orange tip, just in case. So moving backwards, here we have a serial number. It says EN 2008-1030, which is actually a date, October 30th, 2008. So I think that might be the release date of this gun, or maybe just the date that this particular product was manufactured. I'm really not sure, or maybe it's just a coincidence. Who knows? But moving up from that, you have a 1-inch Picatinny rail on each side, and then a 5-inch rail on top. They're all metal, and they can accommodate, the top one can accommodate a red dot sight or a reflex sight. And then these side ones, there's one here and there's one identical on the other side. You might be able to flip flash hider on a laser on there. They're very small, so just keep that in mind. So then moving back a little bit, you have your charging handle. It's, as with most AAGs, it serves no function, but you can pull it back. That's kind of a fun little add-on. And now we're going to take a closer look at the iron sights on top of the gun. Okay, so right now you're looking at the iron sights, and you might not even notice them at first, but if you look here at the back end of this rail, you've got that tiny little notch right there, and here at the front, just above of the last two, just in front of the last two rail notches, you've got a tiny little post. And while from this view it might look like those sights are pretty insignificant and won't really help you, when you bring this gun to your shoulder, your eye actually falls pretty naturally into this position. So if you don't have a red dot or reflex sight on hand, it looks like these sights could actually be pretty useful. Okay, so right here below the upper 5-inch rail, you have E90 cal 5.7 by 28. And the reason that's there is because this E90 is actually based off the real steel P90 firearm, which is produced by the Belgian firearm manufacturer FN Herstal, and that PDW, personal defense weapon, is chambered in the 5.7 by 28 millimeter round, and it's classified as a PDW, as I said earlier, which means it would be used for people who need protection but don't necessarily, and they can't necessarily afford to carry a full long arm such as an assault rifle. So that would be like, vehicle crews, medics, maybe people that aren't necessarily in the front line but still need, something to protect themselves. And so that's the role that this weapon would play. So you've got that nice little semi-trademark there. It's kind of marred by the fact that it says E90 instead of P90, which is the real name, but still pretty nice feature. So moving down from here, you've got, I mentioned the charging handle earlier, but it's an all metal charging handle, so that's probably not going to break on you. And then moving down, you've got your trigger housing. Here's your trigger right here, and then this, I'm not sure if you can see that little wheel-like structure is your safety and fire selector switch, and we're going to take a closer look at that now.
Be sure to watch part 2 of this review available on our page. Also, please leave feedback in the comments below.